Good morning, hunters. I'm Chief Larry Tate, and on behalf of the Creech Chiefs Group, I would like to welcome you to today's event with the one and only Juan Lewis, the Fired Up Chief. Thank you, Chief Lewis, for taking time to provide some pep, pride, enthusiasm, and pride, enthusiasm, and passion to our hunter family. In these unprecedented times, we need a reminder, be it virtually, that we are in the fight of our lives. And hearing from those who have been impacted by COVID can serve as the motivation we need to get through this. Throughout the course of this pandemic, we hunters have been phenomenal. We have met all our assigned tasks and are getting the mission done. This takes amazing dedication and resiliency and is to be commended. We can all agree that the pep that we're about to get from the Fired Up Chief is much needed and welcome. Now I'll turn it over to my partner, Chief Mike Valdez.
Hey, good morning, Creech. Hey, thanks again for joining us. I hope you're excited. I hope you're excited to get fired up this morning. Before we get started, I turn it over to Chief Lewis. We're just going to cover a couple ROEs. So first, to prevent any distractions, please keep your videos off so everybody can focus up on the Fired Up Chief. And then to prevent any accidental hot mics, we're going to go ahead and mute all your microphones. We've set aside some time at the end for some questions and answers. So if you have questions, go ahead and type those in the chat box throughout the as he is talking, and then include your name and your unit. And then at the end, we'll moderate that and we'll make sure your questions get asked in the order they're received. Hey, so Chief Lewis asked me to encourage you to ask tough questions, some raw questions. No topics are off limits. You can ask him anything you want. He's going to give you a real answer. You can ask him about leadership. You can ask him about resiliency. You can ask him about his battle with COVID-19 and how he survived. I've known Chief Lewis for quite a long time. We were both at Lackland together when he was a command chief and I was an MTI. I encourage one of you to ask him about how he got yelled at by MTIs as a command chief. That's a good, funny story. Or I encourage you to ask him how he made us pull 341s on everybody who violated his Pride Patrol policies. And it didn't matter who you were. If you were 06, you getting a 341 pulled, it didn't matter. That's a good one with some good leadership lessons there. But I won't take up too much time with that. I'll turn it over to Chief Lewis. So over to you, Lou.
Hey, thank you to Chief Valdez, you and Chief Tate, man. I tell you, you guys are so official. Y'all gave the introduction, man. Y'all got me all stiff, man. I want to get fired up off inside there so I can share my message. But before I get started, man, I want to go ahead and tell Chief Browning, thank you. I really appreciate you. I applaud you. I'm inspired by you. I know where the career field you came from. I know where the career field I was in. And I know my message is going to be centered around how it is like to dream big. But Chief Browning, I want to go ahead and tell you a little bit of something about Chief Tate and Chief Valdez. You know, one night they called me up talking about we're going to do a practice at 9 o'clock at night. I said, don't you realize that I'm old, that I got to be in bed, I got to be asleep by 9 o'clock. And so here we are doing functional check, doing a 9 o'clock check on the computers. And you had one of those little heroes in there too. And I called him Chief. I said, well, who does the chief field? And he publicly corrected me. I'm like, and told me I'm not a chief, I'm a master sergeant. I said, well, I'm talking about your future rank. I ain't talking about your today's rank. I said, I see you. If you're hanging out with two active duty chiefs, one retired chief, hey, you got the skill set, you're gonna be a chief. And so Chief Browning, I really appreciate the opportunity to go out there and share my pet message out there with your phenomenal wing. Like I told you a little bit earlier, you know, a couple years ago, I was TDY. I was on leave out in Vegas. So me and my wife out there acting like we 21 years old, going down to the wedding chapel, getting married all the way again, just having fun, doing hood rat stuff all over Las Vegas, whatever else. And someone found out that I was there and they asked me, say, well, hey, Chief, do you mind coming out the creek? Now I'm on leave. I'm supposed to be getting drunk and supposed to be like sleeping in and whatever else. And I'm like, man, you got to do what you love. You got to love what you do. So I jumped on that opportunity. I woke up at 6:30 in the morning, took that long ride from Vegas Strip all the way down the creek and went out there and really just got fired up when I visited your mission and visited your base. And that's an incredible base you got because you guys are really taking care of business. But like what I said before, you got to do what you love and got to love what you do. And I love like trying to encourage people to reach their fullest potential. And so I tell people, I spent over 28 years inside the Air Force. And when I was serving inside the Air Force, I was living the dream. I was living the dream, what I call like pride, enthusiasm, and passion. But before I started living this dream, it was almost like a nightmare because I wasn't committed. And once I started committed, get my commitment level to the Air Force and started loving the Air Force really started loving me. And I have some of my friends now, because I've been retired since 2012. They look at me and say, man, why you still messing with those heroes? Why you still sharing your pride, enthusiasm, and passion over there to them? The military a lot different. Man, you need to leave that stuff alone. But I say, you know, once you fall in love with something, you can't fall out of love with it. I'm gonna love you guys all the way until I'm like 6 feet under. And then when I'm 6 feet under, I'm gonna be like a ghost, still coming over to loving you, still sharing that pride, enthusiasm, and passion. Just want to encourage you to go out there and reach your fullest potential and accomplish something big. Now, when I'm talking about like that pride, enthusiasm, passion, it all put together some pep. And once I started putting that pep inside my life, you know, I was able to start turning challenges into opportunities. And so when I'm talking about that pride, enthusiasm, passion, the first thing I need for you to have pride is like representing the United States Air Force. You know, I seen Chief Tate over there. He wearing his Lakers shirt over there, and I'm proud he wearing his Lakers shirt. But guess what? I'm a big Cowboy fan, but I love the Air Force. And every time I get an opportunity, I'm wearing something that's saying how much I love the Air Force. Because I got pride inside the Air Force. I have pride inside my Lewis with my last name. I have pride inside my job because I know, like, whatever it is, that pride right there gonna even push me to hit a whole different level. And then I'm excited. I'm always excited. Man, I used to be working in the dining hall. I used to be excited back there on the grill because that was infectious. People come over and see me, why are you so happy over here working the grill? Or why are you so happy over here doing this job? Because guess what? I ain't got no choice. Either I can do it with a bad attitude, I can do it with a great attitude. But I know if I put my excitement into it, it's gonna go easy, it's gonna be easier. And it's gonna make me like people gonna see that and it's gonna rub off on them. And people recognize that, look, man, who that guy you got there, man? He all fired all the way up. And then you talking about like passion. I was talking to Chief Browning, and I know, and she want to encourage each and every one of you. She don't want you guys right there to be the best. All she asking you just to give your best. Give your best effort every time. Not to be the best, just to give your best. You know, be better than yesterday, but less than tomorrow. And that's all about that passion. But when you put that all the way together, no matter what are you faced with, you can achieve some big old stuff. So I can tell you like that, one of the things I like to encourage people to put some pep inside their life, you see it, is two sporting teams going all the way up. Or anybody, you see like some people have a bad attitude, head all the way down. But when they got that pep inside their life, no matter what they face with, they're going to overcome it really, really quick. And so one of the things I want to encourage you to do, I want to put some pep inside your life, and I want you to dream big. I want you to dream so big that when you go out there telling people what are your dreams, they laughing at you. Because that means you're probably hitting on the right dream. I remember as a young staff sergeant, I was dreaming big. I was telling people I was at RF Lakenheath that I'm going to be the command chief at Lackland Air Force Base. And they looked at me like a services guy as a command chief at Lackland Air Force Base. Ain't no way in the world. But I told them in order to achieve, you got to believe, and I believe that I'm going to be that command chief because I had these big old dreams. And I was pushing myself, and I had a coach that was over there coaching that was putting me in these difficult situations where I was stretching myself. I remember I had this one coach I had, he was a chief. I told Chief, he called me up and said, hey, Lou, I need for you to be the guest speaker at ALS. I'm like, no problem, Chief, when is it? He said, it's tomorrow. I'm like, hold on, Chief, I got a lot on my plate. Chief told me that, guess what, Lou? You need to get a bigger plate. You need to learn how to eat fast because you're going to give me inspiring speech tomorrow. And so he put me in that situation where was stretching me, was growing me to reach my goal that I want to go do. And I remember I finally did make chief. I was at Kadena. And when I made chief, I said, man, I want to go down there and be the command chief at Lackland Air Force Base. And they told me that I couldn't do that because, you know, you're a baby chief and you need to grow a little bit. They had like I was a Thanksgiving turkey over there, stuffed me around, had me in the oven and said, no, I can't pull you out the oven yet because you're not ready. But I always said like with a baby, right? When I had my babies and I go out there and buy my baby clothes or buy them shoes, I never buy them the clothes and the shoes the size they are. I buy them a little bit bigger because I want them to grow into that job, to grow into that position. So at the same token, when you're dreaming big and people telling you that you're not ready yet, heck no, you're not ready because if you're ready, you're probably doing the wrong job. You need to grow into that job. And I'm telling you off inside there. So here I am trying to go get a job and they won't let me go do it. And my dream was to be the command chief at Lackland Air Force Base. And so here it is. They send me out to California. I'm out there in California as a command chief. And then here I am. I'm killing it out there. I can tell you, if you talk to Sergeant P, your command post person there, she know I was a command chief. She know on the weekend, I used to go up there messing with her controls, taking food, everything else. I absolutely love being the command chief because I love over there for the airmen. But I was dreaming big. My dream was, every time I go to sleep, my dream was to go to Lackland Air Force Base, to be the command chief down there with the MTIs. And so then when it came out for the list to go to Lackland, I wasn't nowhere on the list. But that would have been my dream. So guess what I did? I hand jammed and wrote an email to the hiring authority, to the general, and said, guess what? Ever since I was a staff sergeant, I always had a dream to be your command chief at Lackland Air Force Base. And so I want this opportunity to come down there. And so he told the match committee, put the Lewis guy on the list so I can interview. When I go down there and interview down there with him, I'm talking to him for like 3 minutes. And he already said, you know what? You my guy. And I said, well, General, I really appreciate you hiring me because I would do this job for free. I would do this job without any expectation. I don't want no pay. This has been my dream my whole life, to do this job. That's what I want to encourage you guys to do. Go out there and dream big. When you out there dreaming, you're going to face all these obstacles while you're trying to reach your dream. People are going to tell you can't do that. They're going to want you to dream smaller. But guess what? Just keep pushing. Just keep staying focused on your dream. Have you some cheerleaders inside your corner. When you go up there, when you fail, and it's all right to fail, because guess what? That's all part of life. A problem I see inside the Air Force, some people ain't failing. So if you ain't failing, that means you ain't aiming high enough. You got to fail over there so you can hit your full potential. And then at the same token, if you are failing, go over there and have you some cheerleaders inside your corner. You know what I'm saying? The rah-rah squad. And making sure that rah-rah squad keeping you pumped all the way up so you can keep on pushing. Another thing I want to tell you guys do too, whatever you do it for the right reason. A lot of times I see people inside the Air Force, man, they do stuff and they do it with the expectation of getting something. And I'm telling you, you got to do it because your heart telling you to do it, because if your heart telling you to do it, you're always going to be satisfied with the results. I can tell you guys, when I retired as Joint Base San Antonio Command Chief, I got an MSM medal instead of a retirement medal. And everybody was all mad about that medal. Like, all my command sergeant major friends that was on Joint Base San Antonio, it was all in the uproar. Lou, I can't believe they disrespect you by giving you an MSM medal. I'm like, man, I wasn't doing this for no medal. I was doing this for those heroes off inside there. That was my focus. Make sure I take care of the heroes, to do the best thing over I can do them, because I realized it wouldn't be the stripes on my sleeve, it wouldn't be the plaques on my wall, it wouldn't be the ribbons on my chest, it'd be the legacy that I left behind that really made an impact on it. And then I had to tell the sergeant major over there too, and they was all upset. I said, man, let me be honest with you. I'm a country boy from Arkansas, a really country boy from a small town in Arkansas. I said, the only thing I'm concerned with is that good conduct medal, because that's the only thing my mom knows. So if y'all want to read the medal, read that good conduct medal so my mom can look at it and say, my baby did good inside the military, because when I was inside the military, I just wanted to make sure that I make my mom proud. And so that was my why when I was doing everything I was doing, how I was pushing myself. So I know I had told you guys, hey, to dream big, and I told you to do everything for the right reason, but at the same time, have those goals too. Have those goals, those big old goals, and then attach a why to it. The why is your motivation that keep you pushing forward off the side. And next I want to tell you too, you're gonna get knocked down. Getting knocked down is part of life. No matter where you're going, you're gonna get knocked down, you're gonna get thrown a curveball, or somebody ain't gonna treat you unfairly. Something bad gonna happen to you. But it's a shame if you let something bad happen to you, instead of you being a thermostat, you become a thermometer, a victim of your, you're a victim of your negativity, a victim of what's happened to you. Every time something happens to you, you got to find that strength, you got to find that courage to be a thermostat so you can change that situation. But a lot of times when something bad happens to us, we just want to hold on to it. And the longer you hold on to it, the heavier it gets. I don't care, imagine if you walked around with a 5-pound dumbbell in your hand, held all the way out. At first, it's really, really light. But the longer you hold on to that dumbbell, the heavier it's gonna get, it's gonna start hurting you. And sometimes we just got to let it go. You got to let it go. You got to give it to somebody else. Give it to somebody else to help you out, to go out there and fix it. I was talking to this one little hero. He told me every day he go home, and he was a 12 outstanding airman of the year, and he had bad days. Every day he go home. Soon as he walked through the door, him and his son, his 3-year-old son, his dog, they do the happy dance. and they just dance around all crazy. He said, the reason I do that dance, so I can shake all that negativity away from myself. So when I get home right there, I'm focused on home. I'm gonna tell you heroes right here. You guys right there have the opportunity when you drive and decompressing. When you driving from Creech, driving back to work, you stand, you decompressing. It's shame on you if you have a bad day at the job or you have a bad day, something happened to you, that you just holding on to it. Let it go, hero. You got to let it go. And you got to put that pride, enthusiasm, and passion in it, to have the faith to realize that no matter what happens, everything gonna get better. It definitely gonna get better. I'm gonna tell y'all something, boy. I be full of that pride, enthusiasm, and passion. But sometimes you got to practice what you preach. Man, I've been going around for probably like 12, 13 years talking about pride, enthusiasm, passion, being fired up, how to overcome all these different obstacles. If you get knocked down, get your butt back up. But in April time frame, it was like, practice what you can preach. Let me see how much pride, enthusiasm, and passion you got, hero. Because guess what? I'm getting ready to turn your life upside down. So in the April time frame, my life got turned upside down and I got hit. And I didn't even really realize how I got hit. I want y'all to understand, the last time that I was in the hospital was 1965. That was when I was born. And I'm from down south. Anybody from down south, Arkansas, no, you don't believe in going to the doctor, because I can call my mama and she can tell me whatever remedy it is to make me better than everything else. So I'm not a sickly individual. Every morning, if you follow me on Facebook, you know I'm getting up there pounding that pavement. I'm popping in 5 miles. I don't care if it's rain, sleet, snow. I don't care. I'm still popping it all the way in. And then I'm going by Starbucks, give me a cup of coffee just to replenish my pep so I can fight, take care of anything that's coming at me. But in April time frame, the good Lord gave me a challenge that really put it on me. And when that challenge started all the way out, it started out with like, I just thought I had just a simple cold. Hey, I'm not feeling good and I'm fighting through, I'm fired up. I'm full of that pride, enthusiasm, passion. I can shake anything off in a couple days, I'm gonna be good. And I'm just going all the way through it. And I'm being stubborn. I'm letting my pride be so big that, you know, I don't want to really go to the doctor because I don't want to waste the doctor time. And I'm making like I don't even have no insurance or whatever. I ain't going to no doctor. And I'm just fighting it. And then I'm still running. So one day I ran my 5 miles and I look at my watch and my watch is 3 minutes slow. I'm like, what the heck wrong with my watch, man? Why is it 3 minutes slower? I know I ain't getting slower. I'm like, I'm on the same pace. Don't pay it no mind. Then a couple days later, me and my wife walking my dog. We were out there walking. My wife said, why are you walking so slow? And why are you breathing so hard? I'm like, what are you talking about? But I'm still just going in. Then a couple days later, I'm like just confined to my sofa at home. Like, I don't have no energy. I don't want to do anything. I just want to just lay down on the sofa. And then finally my wife said, you know what? I'm calling the doctor right here to find out where I need to take you to. She called the doctor up and the doctor told her to drive me to a center. It was like a McDonald's. Now you go to a drive-through at McDonald's. They didn't do the COVID test. They did a triage trying to find out your medical condition, how you were. I'm gonna take your temperature and I'm gonna take your pulse oximeter just to see where your oxygen level at. So she drive me through there and the guy taking my temperature is a Dutch guy. He talking Dutch. I don't speak Dutch. My wife don't speak Dutch. And then he go over there and stick this thing on my finger and it registered 82 on my oxygen inside my blood. And you know, I don't know no different. I'm not a medical person. 82, if I take a score 82 on my WAPS test, I'm going by closing sale, by stripes. I'm happy. But I was happy, but the guy took off running inside the tent and he started talking Dutch. And I'm like, what the hell is he saying? And he run back and he tell my wife, drive me to the emergency room. Like, what? The emergency room? My wife drive me down to the emergency room and she tried to go inside with me. They said, no, you can't come in here, get back. And I look at my wife as she walking back to the car. And I just had a strange feeling about myself because I'm thinking I'm going to the hospital. They're going to give me this shot in my butt. And next thing you know, I'm going to be good to go. But it didn't happen that way. So I go off inside there. And next thing you know, they got me. They started giving me oxygen. And I take a picture and I post it on Facebook. Bam. Man, I said, I hope COVID don't have me. And I'm thinking like, hey, maybe I just got it mildly. And then my condition just continued to start to deteriorate. Boom. My oxygen level going down. They trying to pump more oxygen inside them, and it's going down. And like the next thing I know, like the next day, they got me strapped down in the thing. They take all my clothes off, stick all these wires in me, and they run me down to ICU. And I'm going down to ICU. I'm like, what the heck? And I'm still like not going all the way through it. And I remember I posted that thing out there on Facebook, and then my condition just constantly started going down. But I'm still like trying to stay positive. I'm still trying to stay fired all the way up and everything else. And they started pumping all these different drugs in me. First you hit the hydrocodone, then that right there ain't working. Then they still pumping oxygen inside. Then they get remdesivir. That stuff right there still ain't working. They still just pumping oxygen inside of it. And my condition just going all the way down. And I have this one doctor, I call him like Dr. Death. He like the, man, he's the most negative guy I've ever seen in my life. I don't know if it's because of Dutch personality or whatever else, but he was like negative. Every time he came to see me, hey, do you have your last rights? Or you want to be an organ donor? Or what else? You know, just, it was so negative off the side there. I'm like, he could have gave me something good. He could have said, you know what? Hey, man, your teeth look good today. Give me something positive when I'm going through this negative situation. Just don't tell me all this negative stuff. He called my wife up that night and told my wife, good luck. I don't think he's going to make it through the night. But it's just crazy how my condition just started to just continue to deteriorate, and deteriorate. And it got to a point where I was laying up inside ICU, where I was begging God. I was like, Lord, it was just too much. The headaches, the fevers, the can't breathe, all this pain right there was just too much, that I got selfish, that I started begging God just to go ahead and kill me. So I just can't take it no more. My pep level had been completely replenished. But I can tell you, when I was begging the Lord to take me away, I had two nurses there that had my cell phone. And they used to FaceTime my wife with me, but then they was reading my message on Facebook. I was getting this outpour of support and prayers from people I ain't never knew, people who I knew, were sending all these messages all the way across the world, encouraging me to keep fighting. Don't give up. We supporting you. And that right there, when I was giving up on myself, I had people who I knew and strangers who was encouraging me to keep fighting. And so me having a victim mentality, the message and the outpour of support and prayers, it kind of changed me to start having a victory mentality. And so instead of saying I want to die, I started saying, you know, I want to fight through this. I got to fight through this. And so then I start changing my whole mentality, you know, start thinking like, how can I fight all the way through this? And I remember this one nurse, Dr. Jensen, she the one who saved my life. She saved my life because she tried to experiment a drug on me. And then she started putting me in the proning position. And I remember her getting on the bed, sitting on the foot of my bed, telling me, said, listen here, Mr. Lewis. She said, I don't have no drugs. It's not important how the drugs make you feel. It's how you feel. She said, I need for you to do me three things. I need for you to stay positive, keep fighting, and don't give up. And when she told me that right there, when my two nurses reading all these messages over there to me, it started like changing my mentality. Instead of me start thinking, oh, me feeling so sorry for myself, just want to go out there and die, then I start having inside of me the will to want to live again. And when I start having the will to live, you start having goals, little amount of milestones that you start like looking out for, you know, instead of thinking that it's the end of the world, hey, I got to find something positive about being inside this situation so I can move forward a little bit. And so here I am inside the ICU. And I'm gonna tell you, inside the ICU I was in, over 70% of the people inside the ICU did not make it. They did not make it. They died. And I can remember laying off inside the bed, I remember the doctor came over there, he was telling me, he was asking me, he was like, do you work out? I said, you know, doctor, I run every day. Because I remember what Valdez said, don't get ready, stay ready. And so every day I used to run when I ran in the rain, the sleet, the snow, when I was exercising off inside. People say, Mr. Lewis, you crazy that you run inside there. I didn't realize I wasn't running just to be running. I was running because I was gonna have a future challenge that was gonna require my body to be strong enough to go out there and fight. And the doctor told me that if I didn't exercise the way I exercise, I would have been done, I'd have been gone. So my body had enough strength to go out and fight through it. And the only reason I had that strength because I was exercising before. And then not only exercise, with the goals, I started having no goals off the side. Like, hey, I started like the only thing I could move were really my eyes. I'm looking at the clock and I started counting the clock, trying to close my eyes and count to 60 and see if I can be on the same time as the clock going all the way around. That's where I started like trying to occupy my mind and everything else. Cause you got to remember, those drugs that they had me on, those drugs had you hallucinating, going through all these different changes and everything. And then I started thinking, my wife's birthday is coming up on the 17th of April. I got to be out of ICU. So give my wife a birthday present that I moved from ICU down to another room. And then I'm over there talking to my nurses, Remy and Joe, and I'm having a great time over there, trying to talk with him. Joe said he had deployed with the Army before, and he's just telling me the war story. And Rennie over there telling me, I'm saying, Rennie, I need to get up. You know, he helped me out of bed. He said, come on, Louis, I want you to dance with me. And look, you got to remember, I went from 200 pounds down to 165 pounds in 6 days. Can you imagine how your body feel? You going through there and just going over there. And then I was like, I want to sit up. I want to get out of this bed. I want to sit up. And they put me in a chair and they sit me in a chair and they took a picture. I don't know if y'all seen that picture on Facebook. It had me over there like in this picture over there and they would feed me. I had lost all my fine motor skills. I didn't know how to eat, didn't know how to write, but I was fighting. I was determined to fight back, to get my control back of myself, to get out of ICU, to go down to the intermediate care. And I was fighting and fighting and fighting. And I started changing my attitude. I started thinking like more positive, started trying to get that pep back inside my life, get my pep replenished. And guess what? On the 16th of April, I left ICU and went down to intermediate care. I was happy. Let me get out of ICU. You know, I'm not still in the clear. I'm just out of ICU. And I'm inside ICU. And the first time I get inside there, you know, I'm thinking like, new freedom. I'm out of ICU, all these machines and stuff like that hooked all the way up to me. I'm down in another place. And I'm down there and I said, I got to go to the bathroom. And they over there talking about, hey, do you want me to, what time you want me to come bathe you? What time you want me to come take you to the bathroom? I'm like, hold on. I'm trying to get back on my own. I'm trying to work this on my own. And so here I am. I fall out of bed and took me an hour to go like 8 feet to go to the bathroom, but I went to the bathroom all. I'm laying on the floor and I pulled a thing. They had to come get me back and they was chewing me all the way out for doing that. But I was trying to take care of myself. And then I remember a housekeeping lady came inside the room to clean the room. And when she came inside the room, she saw me, she ran out, boom, like she seen a ghost or something. I'm like, well, what's wrong with this lady? Then she come back again and she tell me like 5 minutes later, she said, you know what? So you don't remember me. I remember seeing you inside ICU and I never thought I'd see you alive again. I'm just happy to see you. I was like, just perfect. I said, you know what? I'm still trying to recover. I'm still trying to get through this. And I started like, when I was in the intermediate care, I was looking forward to like the new little freedom I got. Hey, they get to roll me down in a wheelchair to take me down to get a chest x-ray. I'm looking forward to going to a chest x-ray so I can look around and find out what's going on. And then my daughter and my future son-in-law, they used to come out there and see me. I'm way on the 6th floor. And I used to crawl over there and climb up on the thing, look out the window at them, right? And my daughter was over there, you know, she was pregnant and I'm waving out there at her. I'm like, man, I can't wait to get out of here so I can meet up with my daughter and see my, you know, my future grandson and everything else. And so then I'm still in the hospital and then the doctor come tell me, say, you know what? When you get out of the hospital, you got to go to a rehab center. And so I'm saying, all right, a rehab center? What do you mean a rehab center? Well, you know, because first of all, I lost all my fine motor skills. I couldn't walk anymore. I barely could feed myself. I'm trying to learn how to write, learn all these little motor skills, the things that we take for granted. I had lost it. I got to regain all this. So guess what? But I'm still looking forward to going to the rehab center. I tell them, say, you know what? I'm going to walk out like a boss when I go out here with my bag trying to go to the rehab center. And here I am trying to walk out. I take 3 steps. I'm winded. I had to get in my wheelchair and go to the rehab center. And I'm so happy about going to the rehab center because I never rode in an ambulance before. So I'm fired up about riding inside the ambulance. I got to have something to look forward to. Hey, I get to ride inside the ambulance, go to rehab center, I'll be great. But then they told me I could do one thing better. Instead of going to the rehab center in an ambulance, your wife can come pick you up. And I'm really happy then. My wife get to come pick me up and drive me over to the rehab center. I'm happy, man. I get to hold my little dog. And then my wife come pick me up and drive me to the rehab center. You would think she would go slow. She driving like a bat out of hell to get me. And I'm like, why are you in such a big rush to get me over here? I'm like, come on, Jeanette, like, can't we just, she said, no, they said, take you straight there. And I go straight there and I go to the rehab center, get wheeled in the rehab center. In the rehab center, it's over 100 different COVID patients inside there. And I'm gonna tell you like this, I could not put my finger on the demographics of who was inside there because COVID affect people differently. And so here we are inside the rehab center. Yeah, people 80 years old. You had my little friend, my little Turkish friend, Masoud, a rapper who was 25 years old. COVID had hit him so bad that he couldn't stand up. He had lost his balance. Then I think of my roommate I had and just think, man, when the last time as me having a roommate, I was lucky to have, man, I'm happy I got a roommate. I hope I get to talk to somebody. And my roommate I have, he was 33-year-old Ruth. COVID hit him so bad, he was confined to a wheelchair, but he couldn't talk. It had hit his mind. The only thing he said was 2, 2, 2. And me and him used to communicate. I used to call him Sleeping Beauty because he wanted to sleep all day. I'm like, man, I like to have light off inside there. I'm going up to open the curtains up at 5 in the morning, and he's still trying. I said, just cover your head up, man. I'm trying to get some fresh air or whatever. Then I started looking at my friend John, who I met. So when I'm inside the rehab center, I said, you know, my goal inside this rehab center, I got to meet everybody just to find out what is their story, what all happened to them, and everything else. So I'm talking to my friend John. COVID hit him, went inside his lung with a blood clot and went inside his leg, and he had to get his leg amputated. Then I look at my friend Bert. Bert, I call him Mr. Positivity, Mr. Motivator. He like, Louis, let me tell you something. He said, you see all these people here? You don't see one person complaining. I'm like, why ain't nobody complaining? You know, he said, everybody realize that we are lucky to be alive. That's when you don't have not one single complaint inside this rehab center. But I can tell you when I was at the rehab center, my attitude started to change because I started messing around with the 3 C's. I started competing, I started comparing, and I started complaining. And here I am at the rehab center. I know I'm in pretty good shape. And you know, here go old Joe, 75 years old. He come off inside, he can't even walk. But he walking up out of the rehab center and said, bye, Lou, good luck, hoping you can leave here soon. And so, you know, that started messing with me. Then I'm over there like doing rehab, riding the bike. I look at old Bird over there, all out of shape, big old belly. He riding the bike at 35 watts. I can only ride at 10 watts. And I'm looking at, how is he moving faster than me? And I know I'm in better shape than Bert. So that started to mentally mess with me. And then, I started complaining. So instead of my condition, because I want to rush to get up out of here, instead of my condition started improving, I think it started going south. I started getting bad because I was comparing, competing, and complaining. And then I also remember when I was inside rehab center, I got a phone call from my boss. And usually my boss would call me and say, hey, Lou, man, I'm just call, check on you, see how you doing. He called me up and say, hey, Lou, man, I got to tell you something. I hate to tell you this, man. He said, in your 36 years of serving inside the military, you better hope all your travel vouchers are tight because someone filed an IG fraud, waste, and abuse complaint against you saying you got a public speaking business, that you're going around charging money to speak, and that you doing all this stuff on government time. And so here I am in rehab trying to fight for my life. I get a call from my boss throwing this negativity out there. But you know what though? When you don't have a near-death experience, right? And you're trying to fight for your life, you ain't got time to worry about none of the other crap right there. When you know that everything, that you good to go and everything. And so when they came there, you know, at first it hit me. And I was kind of mad about it, but I was like, you know what? I got to be focused on my recovery. I ain't got time to be focused on anything else. So I jumped back on my recovery train, on that positivity train, and kept on rolling. Say, hey, man, whatever they got, tell me to go ahead and investigate it, because I'm not worried about it. Because I know I never took a dime or took a penny for anyone. And most of the time when I go around and do my speaking engagement, I'm on my personal leave anyway. So I didn't worry about it. So but then I had to constantly think about, you know, how can I get out of this rehab center? So I set a goal to be out of rehab center by 5th of May, because 5th of May was my 30-year wedding anniversary. And I just couldn't imagine spending my 30-year wedding anniversary in the rehab center. But guess what? I didn't hit that goal because remember I told you I was complaining, comparing, and competing, and it caused me not to hit that goal. But one thing I was lucky about, the staff at the rehab center, they bought my wife some flowers, and my wife got to come there, but she had to stand. I had to stand over the rail, and I could wave down there and see her, and she could whatever, and I couldn't touch her, couldn't kiss her, couldn't hug her, anything yet. And so here I am. I said, you know what? I got to get out of this rehab center. I really got to get out of this rehab center. I said, because my daughter's getting married in a couple of weeks. I need to be up out of here so I can go to my daughter's wedding. And so then, I started quit competing, quit complaining, quit comparing, and I got out the rehab center. If you seen that picture of me leaving the rehab center, I was pumped up, fired up. Thank God, I'm leaving this rehab center. I'm going all the way up. I was looking like a wolf man. I refused to shave or anything else till I get out of here, man. I'm like, I'm ready to get out of here. I'm ready to just go home. I'm ready to just go get me a couple of Starbucks. I'm ready to like go to my daughter's wedding and everything else. So then I go to my daughter's wedding, right? I said, I don't want to have this big Airman oxygen tank on my side, messing up my daughter's wedding pictures over there with this thing on. And so here I am trying to work hard, trying to be the fired up chief with this pride, enthusiasm, passion, and go through it. And I go to my daughter's wedding. I'm all happy that I'm at a wedding, but still my breathing wasn't right. I'm laying at home in the bed. I'm trying to walk like 50 feet, and I'm all out of breath and everything else. My resting heart rate is over 100, like it's like the Indianapolis 500. It's just going up and down. I'm still, you just can't breathe. And then my wife called. She called the hospital and said, I really need to get my husband. Somebody need to take a look at my husband. I need to go see a lung doctor. And so then I go over there back to the hospital to go see the lung doctor for an appointment. And when I'm at the appointment, they put me in the spiral chamber, and I'm in the spiral chamber breathing. And next thing you know, I just passed out inside the spiral chamber breathing. And then they go over there and do an echo on my heart, and they do the echo on the heart, and they send me home. And the next day, I'm at home, I get a telephone call, probably like 6:15 in the morning. And it's from the doctor's office. Like, if you're a doctor calling you at 6:15 in the morning, that ain't good. And so he called up, and he's talking, and he's speaking German, and I don't really understand. I just get a phone to my wife. And next thing you know, my wife just started crying, and I'm like, what the heck, man? What's going on? And she's like, oh, you better hurry up and get ready. That's the doctor just called up and said you got a very serious heart condition that you got to be readmitted back to ICU because you can have a heart attack and you can die real quick. And so then I looked at that. I looked at my wife. She goes like, Jeanette, just calm down. I'm like, if I was supposed to die, I would have died at the hospital. I'm like, it's all good. I'm like, just take our time. Let's just go back down to the hospital. I go back down to the hospital, find out that, not only COVID affect your lungs, it affect your heart too. And so here I'm at the hospital. I'm like, man, what's wrong with my heart? I already know I have a big heart because I really care about people. I really care about heroes, but like they just confirmed I do have a problem with my heart. They said it's only beating at 40% of the capacity. So here they are, they got to do exploratory surgery on me. So I'm at the hospital, they do exploratory surgery. And I'm just hoping that they go off and find like maybe an artery that's clogged, they could unclog it, artery that need to be blown up so the blood can flow. And the doctor finished the surgery. I'm like, what do you find? Exploratory surgery. He's like, didn't find nothing. I'm like, what do you mean you didn't find nothing? I'm like, you had to find something. He's like, nope, didn't find nothing. It's just the way it is. So then they did a hard CT scan on me. Didn't find nothing. It's just the way it is. And I'm just like, what the heck, man? So here I am laying inside the hospital, go back and see the doctor. He's like, you know what? It's just something you just got to live with for the rest of your life. And, and I'm all upset about it. I'm like, man. But, when I started looking at it, I said, things could have been a lot worse. You know what I'm saying? I might not could have had a heart problem. I could have a problem where, I'm 6 feet under. But at least I'm still living. So instead of worrying about that condition of being, a heart problem, lung problem, all other problems, I'm just going to look at the positive. I'm just happy to be alive, happy to be able to, just to be myself again. I say, hey, I just want to go ahead and get out of this hospital again and go home because my daughter is pregnant. And she's ready to have my little grandson. And I can't wait to go over and see my grandson over here. So then I get out of the hospital, start my recovery, and I go home. And a couple of weeks later, my daughter had my grandson. And he died like 10 minutes later. And sometimes you wonder, like, why that right there had to happen to me? Why? Why is my grandson? I wish I could have died instead of my grandson, passing away during that time frame. But you know what? A lot of times when the good Lord don't put a period, you can't change it to a question mark. Everything can have a reason why it had to happen. And maybe I don't know that reason now, but you have that reason inside the future why this right here happened. Like I said before, out of all this time frame, I've been going around encouraging people, to overcome obstacles and everything else. And the good Lord just gave me one off the side there, to practice what you preach. And I can tell you, a lot of time I talk to people and they, hey man, I feel so sorry for you. But sorry ain't gonna help my condition. Sorry ain't gonna like bring my lungs back. Sorry ain't gonna help my heart. Sorry ain't gonna even bring my little grandson back. The only thing I can do is stay positive with that pride, enthusiasm, and passion. Just so I can continue to push all the way forward. And just to go out there and just do what I'm supposed to do what I love and love what I do. So I'm not just trying to, scare anyone about COVID. I'm just trying to tell you, man, when the Air Force talking about resiliency, no matter what it is, you ain't got no choice but to bounce all the way back. And I can tell you, like, if you know anyone who's going through anything, I don't care if you really don't even know them, if you have it within your means to go out there, send them a little message, a little encouraging message off of there, I can tell you that right there mean a lot. That really could help them when they over there probably don't gave up on themselves, are probably facing with things that they probably never thought they'd be faced with. But irregardless of what I've been faced with, what don't occur to me, I'm gonna push all the way through. And I'm gonna stay fired up, I'm gonna stay motivated, I'm gonna stay full of that pride, enthusiasm, passion, and to continue going out there trying to do what I love to do is try to encourage everybody else. So Chief, I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share my message all the way across. And like I said before, I always try to be real. And I want to open up, you can ask me anything you want to ask me about. And it's nothing off limit, and I won't get offended or anything else. You can ask me, say, hey, Chief Lewis, why one side of your face is like, different from the other side? I don't care. Little kids, that's what I love about little kids too. You know what I'm saying? Little kids have no fear. And like, I wish everybody had the mentality of having been a little kid. Think about when a little kid is, and sometimes we ruin little kids too, because the word the little kid hear all the time is no, no, no. They have no fear. Little kid try anything. They don't care what anybody said they have to doing it. But then we condition them, no, 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 no. Like when I go over to a little kid, they're like, well, why is your eye smaller than the other one? You know what I'm saying? I have no problem with that. I love little kids because they give honest. But as soon as when we get older, we start like, hey, we don't want to ask that, but I want to ask that or anything else. But like me, I try to be authentic. I try to be real. I try to be open up inside. So you can ask me anything. I'm serious. And another thing too, Chief Browning will tell you, man, we come from a career field that, man, we used to like, getting treated, people, we used to get no hard thing, like when I was a command chief, like people used to come complain to me. And I'm like, man, you ain't really heard a complaint till you be behind a grill at the dining hall or be behind lodging. I'll be over there where you trying your job to make people happy and you ain't hitting the mark. And I'm like, I'm sorry, this and that. So, I'm good with that. You can tell me anything, hey, because I know who I am and I know what I'm trying to do and I know where I'm going and stuff like that. So, but if we can, let's go ahead and open up for a few questions off the side there and we can go ahead and go.
All right, Hunters. Hey, if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat box or come up live and make sure you turn your camera on so Chief Lewis can see you.
All right, then, Chief. It look like the Hunters up there. They really.
Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna let the Chiefs group go ahead and go first, and then I'm gonna go after that. I'll let y'all go.
And Chief Sergeant Shepard here. I have a quick question in regards to how your recovery is still playing out. In terms of, you mentioned you had some issues with your heart and then of course your breathing. What does that look like today? Are you kind of in the clear? Are you still treading water at this point? Just wanted you to share how you're doing with that.
Hey, first of all, there, Shepard, I'm gonna kick your butt. I'm gonna take me on vacation. Come out there. I call you Chief Shepard, so you would have really called me Chief Shepard. Hey, Chief, this is Chief Shepard or Chief Select Shepard. I'd have been pumped all the way up. But you really gave me a great question off the side. People don't realize back in April I was fighting for my life, and today I'm fighting for my quality of health. And, so when you look at COVID affect people a lot differently. And so not only like with the lung problem, with the heart problem, with the memory problem, with the dang exhaustion, man, like some days it's a struggle just to get out of bed, and people know like, man, I'm normally pop out of bed and run 5 o'clock in the morning. Some days it's a struggle that I have to make myself go do things and everything. But I think it's trying to just train my mindset to be that way, to go do that. But it's an actual struggle. Like, I look at it, sometimes I'm just totally dang exhausted, man. I'm serious, like totally exhausted where I'm like, now I got to go take a nap. And when you talk about taking a nap, I ain't talking about taking an old man nap. You just, sit in a chair. I'm talking about taking a nap when you're taking your clothes off, you get inside those covers inside that bed and you go on to sleep. And then you go to sleep like at 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Then at 9 o'clock, you're still tired. And you're like, man, why? And, I don't want to complain about it, but at the same token, I understand, this is the new me. It's a new me that I can make a better me. There's something I just got to live with. So I'm still fighting right there. Every day it's a fight off inside there. So and sometimes I'm wondering like, man, why does that have to happen to me, man? Why I have to get like handicapped, along this way? But, it's something that I just got to live with, man. And, my wife, she over there, she living with it and everything else. And it's tough, man. It's tough. But I'm still winning, though. That's the main thing. I'm still winning because of supporters like you there, Chief Shepard.
Hey, Chief, it's Chief Tate here. Earlier, you mentioned about the plate thing. Either you can eat faster or get a bigger plate. Two things about that. How big should your plate be, and how do you know when your plate is too big?
Well, it all depends on it. A lot of times, though, Chief Tate, you just need you a good coach. Anyone ever know they ever played sports inside high school and everything else? So your mind will make you want to quit when you probably can still continue to go. And a lot of time, if you have that right coach that really know you, that they can push you over there to hit other different limits. I know if someone off inside there lift weights, and you're over there trying to reach your max on the bench press. And if you have a hype man of a coach over there helping you doing it, when you want to quit, they say, come on, give me one more rep. And you got to feel a little bit of pain so that you can continue to feel that pain so you can continue to push all the way up to reach new levels and stuff. Because if you go off in there trying to do it by yourself, you're going to hit that limit and your mind going to tell you to shut down and you just going to shut all the way down over there with it versus, continue to push yourself or encourage you to go all the way up a little bit more. But then at the same token, though, it's all right to feel a little bit of pain. You got to feel a little bit of pain. You got to feel a little bit of struggle if you're trying to accomplish like an epic dream. And I always tell people, don't allow your goals to be bigger than your dreams, is that you got to feel like a little bit of pain. And a lot of time I notice people like, when they feel a little bit of pain, they want to quit. But you got to feel that little bit of pain so you continue to grow and, to go all the way up. And you can never stop learning too. I don't care who you are, never stop off inside there, never stop learning. And your coach could be an airman or your coach could be, someone else. I know when I was a command chief, I always hired an airman as my exec. I think Chief out is going to tell you. I was seriously, A1C is my exec. And she was my exec, but she was also like my confidant, because here I am at Lackland with all the airmen. Hey man, I think like a senior NCO. I can dip down to an NCO thinking, but I can't think like an airman. And so I needed someone with diversity of thought to help me think along that way. So I hired A1C when I was at Lackland. I had A1C, then I went to Joint Base San Antonio, a huge installation over there. I had A1C as my exec, and they told me don't do that. I'm like, hold on, man. And she ain't smart enough. I'm like, she's smart what I'm dumb at. You know what I'm saying? And so, so she can help me like grow with my plate, getting really, really full. And just the focus over there too, just the conversation that what she brought to the table. I didn't have no one with their ear down to the ground, the airman. But at least when I had her ear down to the ground with the Airmen, you just think about how many Airmen you got on your base, man. If you're taking care of their need, they the one who could really like make you or break you, to keep you really working really, really hard, because other folks are seasoned, they off inside the military, they kind of know what they're doing. The Airmen, they made them break every day. So, but I encourage you though, Chief Tate, like depending on whatever goal you got, the plate got to get full, plate got to get bigger, man. You got to eat fast over there. You can't go over there like eating the same pace that you was doing 10 years ago and think you're gonna grow. Just think 10 years ago, if you was a baby, you was only be able to eat this much. But now, like a teenager, you eating this much. When you're grown, you got a bigger plate, you eating this much right here. That plate just constantly keep on getting bigger and stuff. So.
Thank you for that answer, Chief. I appreciate you. We also have another question. The question is, Chief, did you ask someone to be that first professional coach, or did that person offer?
Well, it's crazy off inside there. Like when I was like a young little staff sergeant at Lincoln. Remember I told you I was dreaming big, and I remember I asked this one chief. I said, Chief, can you be my mentor? Can you help me out? And he looked at me like I had COVID back then, and in 1991 he didn't want to talk to me or whatever else. But later on, it's just crazy. I found someone who I connected with, who was able to be my coach, and they put me in those uncomfortable situations. They were pushing me, that gave me real honest feedback. Hey, when I'm serious, this guy was my coach so good that if I was at the BX, he saw me at the BX with my family, he was giving me feedback on that. How I was acting with my family. If he saw me drive my car and he looked at my car, he was giving me feedback on that. If he's at the top 3 meeting, he saw me over there, my mannerism, everything else, he was giving me feedback on that. And so he was just pushing and just coaching me to where I wanted to go. He had a conversation with me, what do you want to do? And just coach me off the side there. So I encourage anyone off the side there, if you got something epic you're trying to accomplish, go find your coach. Hey, if you ain't got a coach, you ain't gonna be no world champion. If you over there trying to go to the Olympics, if you just going out there trying to do the regular thing, you ain't gonna get invited to the Olympics. You're gonna have your coach, someone who specializes in really pushing you off the side. And I was talking to my one hero, and we was talking like, think about Tom Brady, man. Tom Brady over there, man, that quarterback, man, look how low he was drafted. Remember when he was drafted in the NFL, I think he was drafted in the 5th round or whatever else. He wasn't projected to be a longevity and win all these championships and everything else. But Tom Brady, man, you know what? That sucker had him a coach. He never got complacent. He stayed hungry. If you go out there and look at all those championship rings he got, man, he could be on his rocking chair right now, just rocking back, looking at his ring, tossed him up, just gloating about what he achieved in the past. But they asked Tom Brady, like, which one of these championship rings you like the best? And Tom Brady looked at all the rings and he said the next one. Because he wanted, he was hungry. He gonna stay hungry. He gonna stay humble, and he was gonna keep striving to hit the most thing because he had a coach.
All right, Chief. So we got another question. So as you know that the Air Force is going through a suicide epidemic right now. So if you were to speak to Staff Sergeant or Tech Sergeant Lewis, what would you tell Staff Sergeant or Tech Sergeant Lewis on how to deal with that situation?
With that suicide one, man, that's tough right there. Chief Browning will tell you, before I was known as the fired up chief, I was known as the Undertaker. So it's like I used to be the mortuary guy. And back in those days, when I was the mortuary guy, we was real mortuary. Used to go out there on the scene, had to pick up remains and go out there and look at suicide notes and all other things. I'm like, and it really stung me. It really hurt me too. When you got out there and see that, and then I was a civilian. When I first came as a government civilian, I went back and worked mortuary. So I was reading suicide notes and everything else. One thing I want to tell you as like a young staff sergeant, anyone off the side there, first, you got to establish those relationships, man. It's very important that you establish a relationship with your people. I'm talking about what you can able to like notice like little mannerism, even though they ain't got to say it. A lot of time, it ain't what they say, it's what their body language showing you. And a lot of times, if you got that connection over there with them, you can look in their eye and tell something wrong. Just like your kid, you can look at your kid and say, what's wrong with you? And that's the type of relationship you need with your troops off the side. And plus, you got to know, what motivates them and everything else. And then they got to trust you too. Like they got to have that level of trust inside you, and that comes from like relationships. I remember when I was a young tech sergeant at a base, I had my one staff sergeant that worked for me, and we had a great relationship. And I remember he called me on the Saturday and said, "Hey, Sergeant Lewis, I can't take it no more, man. I need to go to the doctor. I'm like, what do you mean you need to go to the doctor? I'm like, take Monday off, man. You good? Like, no, I need to go to the doctor. I'm driving in to go to the doctor. And I said, all right, I'll meet you there. And I realized he lived 30 miles from the base. And I called back and told his wife, said, no, he can't drive me. I'm gonna come pick him up. And I drove out there 30 miles. Now this is in the 90s, right? When I drove out there to see him, so you didn't have no GPS. He lived 30 miles from me. I knew we lived there. I knew what type of car he had. And he felt comfortable. He can come tell me. I drove down there, went to his house, talked to his wife. I had a relationship with his wife. Saw him, and he was crying, and I started crying because of the way he felt like, doing something bad about himself. But the only reason he called me because of the relationship, what we had. A lot of time I see inside the Air Force that, we get so good, and, technology, it's a benefit, but it's a problem too, because a lot of times we just only communicate, through the emails or through virtually or whatever else, versus having those relationships that where you're feeling. So if I can tell you anything, just establish that trust and just let your folks know that you really, really care about them. And also pay attention to them too. Pay close attention. I can tell you from my staff sergeant days of being a mortuary, NCO, going out there on the case, looking around at the notes, looking around at the whole thing, and even being a command chief, just drill it all the way back. People say, well, I ain't really see it coming. I'm like, well, damn. Well, maybe you need to get some better glasses on, because, you know what I'm saying? Maybe you weren't looking hard enough, or maybe you weren't looking at the right thing, or you weren't paying enough attention and everything else. But I think if you had that relationship with them, I think you can't solve them all, but I think you can solve some of them, though.
Yeah, I appreciate that answer. We got time for a couple more, and I think we have a couple here in the chat box. So here's one. How would you help someone who is dealing with burnout? How do you inspire your team to stay hungry when they're tired?
You know what? They're tired. You got to take those breaks, man. I'm serious. Like a lot of times when we messed up, and also too by teleworking too. That's a problem. Sometimes you find yourself around the clock, 24/7, logging in and everything else, and it's just like with leave and everything else. You got to go recharge your battery. You got to pause it to go out and do it. And a lot of times what I find out too was, especially like in the mid ranks, in the tech sergeant, especially like the master sergeant, they hit burnout because they don't know how to delegate. They don't know how to trust somebody else to go out there and do it. And you got to find ways like to go out there and recharge your battery. And that's the main thing. Plug in. On something they're going to keep you recharged, they keep you fired all the way up. And then just step away. When you step away, step all the way away and just say, you know what? I'm taking me like 2 weeks to leave. I'm going out there, fish and whatever else to recharge my battery so I can come all the way back. But a lot of times it's like your iPhone with your telephone. Your telephone just can't run without you going out there charging that phone up, so why you not charging yourself all the way up? Like if I go out there and look at you with your cell phone, like people tell me they burn out, they taking better care of their phone than they do themselves. If I go to their house, they got to charge at home to charge their phone up. They got to charge it in their car. They got to charge it at work. That phone get down the red, they charge the thing up. But then the same token with them, they working their butt off and they ain't charging themselves up. Come on now, hero. You got to take care of yourself too. You got to stay charged up so you can go out there and do what you need to do. And another thing too, with your priorities on the side too, like I'm gonna tell y'all guys, when I retired down at Joint Base San Antonio, down Lackland, I'm in my march down the historical bomb run, and then I had my retirement up at the club, over 1,200 people there. When it's all said and done, man, all those 1,200 people gone, ain't nobody left there with me, my wife, and my 2 kids, man. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of times we get burnt out because we don't understand that balance. You know what I'm saying? And you be working so hard at work, and then you be causing stress to be at home. And it's like a triangle that you got to understand. That triangle, on one side of the triangle is the Air Force, another side of the triangle is your family, and on the bottom of that triangle is yourself. And you can keep that thing perfectly in line, you can have, and sometimes it get out of whack a little bit, but you got to whack it back in line and stuff. And I tell you right here, never sacrifice your family over there for promotion or anything else. I had one of my heroes email me today, and I've been knowing him since he was a staff sergeant. He used to be an MTI. He told me, like, Chief, man, I'm trying to make Chief, man. I hope I make it because, I've really been sacrificed my family and everything else. And, I feel bad because I feel like I need to go put my foot inside his butt because I ain't had that conversation with him over there. Because you can do it with both of them. You can be committed to the Air Force, in love with the Air Force, and you can be in love with your family office out there too. it is just a balancing act, even once you learn that. But please don't go over there because you're replaceable at work, but you ain't replaceable at home. Just think if at work, if you die, shoot, man, we're gonna have a memorial ceremony on there. Next thing you know, guess what? What did that replacement come in? But you die at home, man. Come on. You're gonna die and your kids ain't gonna have no dad or whatever else. So, yeah, but I just encourage you, like, if burnout, take your leave and take your time to go over there and you know, so you can get your battery back up and go out there and do what you need to do.
All right, here's another one. What is the most personally enjoyable and rewarding job you had during your Air Force career?
You know what? All of them, man. You know what I'm saying? I tell you, when I first came inside the Air Force, Chief probably no slapped me over there. I went DDA, direct duty assignment. Now I hear the Air Force talking about, we got direct duty coming back. I'm like, man, Airman Lewis did that right there. And I absolutely hated my job, man, as a services president. I'm like, I ain't signed up to do this. And you know, it's crazy. I spent like 28 years in the Air Force. My mom didn't know what I did. You know what I'm saying? She didn't know what I did inside the Air Force until she came to my retirement ceremony. And which is crazy over there. And I remember my little nephew came inside the military, the Air Force, and my mom chewed me out because, you know, I ain't went saw him over. I said, Mama, I can't go over there. She's like, what do you mean can't go over there? I said, Mama, I can't go in the dorms and see him. And she was like, boy, you better get your butt over there and go see your little nephew or whatever else it was. And so then I finally said, went over there and saw him. And my nephew was in the Air Force. He didn't realize that I was a command chief and basic training was in the Air Force officer. But when I go back and look at jobs over there about there, when I first came in, I hated being a services president. Then when I fell in love with services, it fell in love with me. But every job I ever had, man, I loved it. I loved it, loved it, loved it. And it got to be the best. But probably when I'm looking at highlights, you know, being the command chief down at 37 Training Wing, basic military training, that was a highlight. You know, being the services chief at Kadena when we was like, had all this money and we just doing, making everybody happy, all this fun. I loved all that. But, you know, overall, though, every job I ever had, you know, I always try to do the best of my ability and try to love it because I knew if I loved that job right there, it would love me. And all these doors will open up that was probably been closed to a lot of different people. So I encourage you, whatever job you do, just do it to the best of your ability. And if you don't like it, and once you start liking it, it'll start liking you, and it'll give you the opportunity to open other doors to go do other things.
Thank you to all the participants who offered up questions. Thank you, Chief, for your wisdom. And on behalf of the Creech Chiefs Group, we just want to show a token of our appreciation and present you, well, we'll mail it to you, but we'll present it to you now with a coin and a certificate of appreciation. And it reads, for mentoring the Hunter family and providing some pep, which is what you're world famous for. And so, like I said, in these times of COVID and all of these trying things that's going on, we always need some pep and somebody that's kind of been there before and show us how to lead the way. So now I'd like to welcome the Command Chief, 432nd Wing, 432nd Air Expeditionary Wing, Chief Master Sergeant Michelle Browning, to offer some closing comments.
Well, you know, I'm gonna say this, Chief. I'm gonna make this personal. I'm not gonna take too much time. I think I'm kind of overwhelmed. I don't know if people ever see me overwhelmed, but I think I'm a little overwhelmed for a couple of reasons. Number one, taking the time to take care of our hunters. One of the things that means everything to me is to make sure these guys are good. To see chiefs, enlisted individuals taking care of all airmen is something that y'all can't see. I got my glasses on. It kind of make me teary-eyed when I see that airmen taking care of airmen. That's what I'm most passionate about. I come into this career field. We got intel, we got operators, we got career aviators, we got 1Us and all of these pilots, and here I am, a services person. And I'm just like, okay, let's see what we got, right? But one thing I know for sure that I've learned, and it's one of the things that you talk so much about, is like, I've loved all my jobs, is just give me some airmen. Some people talk about going from tier 1 to tier 2. I said, I just want some airmen and I want some facilities so I can take care of them. And that's, to me, your message to me at the end of the day, it was always about somebody else. It's this saying that people say all the time that individuals win games, but teams win championships. And what you've given is a reminder. It's a reminder that if we do this thing together and we take care, we're going to win championships, not just the trophy, but we're going to win life championships. We're going to win career championships. We're going to win family championships. And to me, that's what your message did and gave. I am fired up about what you just said. I thank you for your time and your service to the United States Air Force. We are services. It's not about us because we enjoy giving. And anytime we can find those individuals still committed to giving our hunters some tools and some motivation, and you almost had me in tears. I had to send a text message to Chief Darns, and I said, man, he about to make me cry. And she said, don't get soft, but that's what real messages do. It gets to the heart of things. And I think that's what you did for our hunters. That's what you did for me. And I'm humbled to call you friend and to be a part of this communication that you just shared with us. So on behalf of me and my boss, who's in a leadership meeting, because talked to my boss, Colonel Jones, last night, and he said, I know who Chief Lewis is as well. So not only do you have, hold on 1 second, don't go nowhere. Don't run away. Don't run away. So we're gonna informally, this is my coin on behalf of me, and then we're gonna make sure that you get these, because anytime it's investment in our hunters, we owe a debt of gratitude. And I'm so fired up. I'm just gonna get off this line and say thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you there, Chief. Hey, from the bottom of my heart, thanks a lot for giving me the opportunity to share my pep message. I'm proud of each and every one of you. All I want you to do is like just live up to your fullest potential. And if I can ever help you all the way out, you know, when I was laying in the hospital on my deathbed, I think the Lord told me that if you can ever help someone out, you better believe it. I'm gonna go out there and do it. So if you ever need anything from me, you can ask me and I will definitely go out there and do it for you. So heroes, hunters, stay fired up, stay motivated, stay full of that pride, enthusiasm, and passion, and keep doing it big. Fired Up Chief is out. Thank you there.